Welcome to Apache Karaf Essentials. I'm Jamie Goodyear. In this episode, we're going to teach you how to build your own custom distribution of Apache Karaf. Up next. Okay, let's dive into this. When we start out wanting to build our own Apache Karaf custom distribution, we're going to need to set up the ability to assemble a Karaf with just the parts we want and tell it what parts we need to start whenever we start that container. We're going to want to be able to instruct it what set of configurations we want for our container, so whatever the defaults are, and then overlay any changes we want. And then add into it potentially some additional branding to make it look like it's our own container. That always a great little thing to do. And then we are going to want also add into it stuff that's about our own application domain. So our utilities, our services, things that whenever we start one of these Karaf JVMs up, we're going to have that available no matter whatever additional applications we want to install in there. So with all of that, I want you to take a look at that in the show notes below because we have this Git repository available for you as a starting point. Let's dive in. We start off with the parent POM. The parent POM is going to be where we set all of the versions we're going to be using throughout this project and helps us just organize out the separation of concerns, that being our secret sauce features that we want to include for our applications and then the actual core platform that we want to provide. Starting our effort here, we define our group ID. For us, it's going to be ComSav or Apache Karaf Distro Demo and an artifact ID of Cool Beans. We set this up as a POM and then we begin setting our properties. Two major portions here is that we have our Java settings of 17 as our base level, and we're going to use the Karaf 4.4.7 kit as our base for creating our distribution. We define our two modules, Cool Beans features and the Cool Beans core platform. And then we have a space here where I'm just putting in a note that you have to put all of your build and release plugins below. That's going to be highly dependent on where you want to send your finished kits, or if it's within your own organization or after some public repository. So we're just going to consider that to be out of scope for this demo. Let's take a look at building the core platform, the actual part that's going to be the Karaf distribution. So starting with that POM file, what we're going to see in here is that we are building something called a Karaf assembly. As the name suggests, this is about assembling together the parts that's going to make the kit. Inside of this, we have a couple of dependencies. The first couple of dependencies that you're going to want in here is that you want to add in the features framework, just so we have that kind of key component of Karaf available. And now you have a couple of choices. In general, when I'm building out a distribution, I'll tend to include things such as Spring support, the standard features, and the enterprise features of Karaf. That does not mean that they're by default installed. It means that they are by default available to be installed. We'll see later on during the assembly that's where we're going to say which features you want to be booting up with. This allows you to be able to access those. We also include at this stage a link over to our secret sauce. What that is the set of features, utilities, services that you may have created that you want to make sure is available for anything that's being built on top of this Karaf. Typically in there, I'd include things such as my own repos. If that's something within your organization, you might want to have their location there. And then basic services and basic bundles of libraries that everything that you build require, but you don't have to ship all the time. You want that to be part of the platform itself. You'll notice that this is pointing to a features XML file. Now let's get to the build section. Inside here we have two sections. One's about the resources and then the actual assembly of the kit. So I'm going to expand these files here on the left-hand side so that we can talk a little bit more about them. Let's start with source main resources. This one here is actually talking about this folder here where we have the directory structure inside the kit. This is where I can say I want my etc folder and I want to override one of the existing default configurations. Also note in here that I could just add additional config files if I know that we need to have that for our applications. So inside, I have an example of the PAX logging config where the default would be setting all these colors to bright versions of the color. I prefer it to be a little bit more muted in color, so I've removed the word bright from this. What that will mean is that when we are doing our logging, we want to view it in the Karaf console. Any of the highlighting it does is now going to be in a less bright color. But we can confirm this when we extract a kit to see that we have taken our custom configuration. In the filtered resources, these ones where you actually have to tell it to put it into the Etsy folder, is where I'm able to put my branding properties. So since we are calling this project Cool Beans, I can set up the splash page. Instead of saying Karaf, we'll now say Cool Beans whenever you log in. Same for the SSH. You'll get a little message splash screen that says welcome to the project. Okay, so with that, that is how we're actually going to add in the customized configurations to the kit. Let's take a look at how we actually build it. We use something called the Karaf Maven plugin. This is responsible for setting up the basic kit. Now, there are a couple of various configurations we do here, but what I typically use is called boot features. And this is where we're able to define exactly which boot features are going to be part of your kit when it starts up. And this is where you get to be a little bit opinionated about how your Karaf works. For example, I have here Ares Blueprint has been commented out, and we have SCR, Declarative Services, actually booting up. What this is to say is that Ares Blueprint is available in the kit, and if you need it, you can install it. But by default, when you start this Karaf, you're going to have SCR available, and it's a way of being opinionated to any of your development teams to say, hey, these are the mechanisms, patterns, and processes I want you to use. And doing that, you're able to make your Karaf as large or as small as you need for your particular intended purpose. At the end of this long list, I also include a link here to our boot features for Cool Beans, which brings us over to the Cool Beans module. This boot feature is basically saying, boot up what makes something special about this Karaf container. It's not just a basic Karaf with things that have been removed or added. This is our Karaf plus what we need for Cool Beans to operate. So Cool Beans is actually just a standard setup for a features. You'll see in here that we construct this in a normal manner to be able to build out a features file. So inside a features file, what you would include in here is anything you need that makes your platform unique. Could be locations to repos that you have. It could be features and utilities and services that you need to have always in your kit. You would add these in here so that way when this Karaf starts up, you'll be able to access all of these at all times. Now, with all this being said, let's build this out. So I am at the top level of this project, and I'm just going to build the full project out here. It doesn't take too long. It's going to download a 447 kit, and then it's going to do all the overlays required. We'll find that inside of the target folder here, we'll see a Cool Beans core platform has been created in a tar.gz in a zip format. Since we're going to be demoing this on a Mac, we're going to take the tar.gz format and extract that and build out the kit. Okay, we're going to copy that archive over to another folder, and we will extract it. And let's get into the kit. So we can see that we have what appears to be a standard Karaf, but let's take a quick gander inside of here if we have all the extra pieces we're looking for. Inside here for the logging file, we'll see that the coloring should be the muted colors, not bright, and we confirmed that. We should also see inside the Etsy folder that we have some additional branding files, which do appear. Okay, this is good. Let's take a look inside of the kit if that all works together. And there we go, Cool Beans. It's on the screen, and we can see that we now have our Cool Beans platform version 1.00 snapshot. If we were to list out all the features that are currently installed, and we'll scroll up a little bit here, we will see that the Cool Beans feature itself is also present. So with this, we have now shown that we can build out a full Karaf with just the pieces that you want to have installed with your own applications and your configurations applied right out of the archive file. So what are the next steps you'll want to take? Well, grab this project. You're going to want to change over the group ID and your artifact IDs to your own project naming. But from there, now this is going to be up to you. Do you want to build that smaller Karaf? Do you need to add in a whole lot of things that will just make it very convenient to use your Karaf for deploying applications? It's really up to you. That being said, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.